Hello everybody and welcome to the Let's Talk About podcast, and today you can see me, I'm in my new studio. I've been kicked out of the living room and I'm now in my conservatory. Got rid of the treadmill, well it's over there, and made a little space, brought a little table off Marketplace, brought me a little PC outfit, swapped it for a laptop, and yeah, I'm now in the conservatory. Or I could actually say I'm in the sauna because fucking hell, this is awesome. Wow. Yeah, but it is what it is, and yeah, we're going somewhere. Got our own studio. I've just hit 500 followers on Instagram, so that's a big thing for me. That's well done to me. And today we are going to be covering a topic that when I first said I was going to do a podcast, I got my book out and I wrote down a load of ones that I wanted to do, and this was one of the first ones that I wrote down. And today we're covering the Travis Walton Abduction, aka the fire in the sky. Yeah, we're going to get into it, and to be honest, it's one of them stories which you either believe it or you don't. It's very, very hit and miss. We're going to get into it anyway, but as I said, let's get the housekeeping out of the way. It's boring, but it just has to be done. Contact me at letstalkaboutpods@gmail.com, or you can contact me on Instagram at lets_talkaboutpods. When I record this now, I also record it and put it onto YouTube. And what I've done now is, because I couldn't find my videos in the algorithm, because there's other things on there called Let's Talk About and stuff. So I changed the name to Let's Talk About Podcast Videos. So if you type in that, you'll see all the videos come up, and we'll be on there. So that's it. On the email, contact me about anything. If you want to contact me about future episodes, let me know. Because I've got a lot of episodes that I want to do, and if people want to listen to something else or have an idea about what we could do, then let me know and we'll do it. If someone wants to come on the show, drop me a message and you're more than welcome to come on the show. I've got a link here I can send. I can just click that button there and it sends you a link, and literally the screen goes into off and you can do it. You haven't got to come out, you haven't got to come to my house. You can just literally do it from your bedroom or, I don't know, your cupboard, or whatever you want to do. It says, as long as stay at the toilet, don't really want to do that. But yeah, and if you want to leave feedback on there, then please do. That's what the email's there for. Also, if you just want to have a chat, it's always there. So, like I said, always know that someone's there to answer you. But that's the housekeeping out the way. So, yeah, the Travis Walton Abduction. This was made into a film in the mid-90s called Fire in the Sky. So, it's probably one of the most famous alien abductions out there, to be honest. Because when you talk about alien abductions, you think of Travis Walton, you think about Betty and Barney Hill. Don't really think about anybody else. You've had some that have come forward like recently, like the Manhattan abduction that was glorified by Netflix and stuff. So this is really the OG and the daddy of them all, really. So should we get to it, really? Because there are many videos about, very many pictures on this today. So you're going to get a lot of pictures on this because there's really none to do, really. So it's Travis Walton. Who is Travis Walton? Here is Travis Walton. Just click on it to show you what it is. Here he is, Travis Walton. He's got his double denim on. He's got his nice, beautiful red moustache there. Look, he's got his cap on because he's a logger. So yeah, that is Travis Walton. And when he did Fire in the Sky, this was what he looked like in the mid-90s. So let's have a look at him now. There he is. Look at that tash there. Look at that. That's beautiful. That is proper Tom Selleck-esque. You know, he's got his nice little bit of a mullet going on the back. Of course, got to have the flannel shirt. He's a logger. He's got to have a flannel shirt. And there, on the left-hand side, is a picture of the description of what they said happened. There was a UFO, a light come down, and it picked him up. And yeah, that's what they said happened. So there he is. It's interesting. So we'll get on to it anyway, and we'll go into it and we'll go a bit deeper. And let's get into Travis Walton and the fire in the sky. On the evening of November the 5th, 1975, 6 exhausted forestry workers sped down a rugged dirt trail in Arizona's Apache Sitgreaves National Forest. They weren't running from a wildfire, and they weren't fleeing a mountain lion. You'd definitely running one of them, come at you. They were running from a luminescent, saucer-shaped craft hovering 30 feet above the scrub oak, and from the terrifying realisation they had just abandoned one of their own. 5 days later, the missing man re-emerged at a roadside farm booth, dehydrated, disorientated and convinced he had only been gone for a couple of hours. I'm your host, Neil Orange Peel, and today we are diving into the most famous and fiercely debated alien abduction case in modern history, the Travis Walton incident. To understand what happened on that night, we have to go back to the Eye County of eastern Arizona in late autumn 1975. The place is Turkey Springs, roughly 15 miles south of Heber, Arizona. A young local crew chief named Mike Rogers had secured a lucrative US Forest Service contract. The contract required Rogers' crew to thin approximately 1,270 to 1,500 acres of dense forest in the Apache Sitgreaves National Forest. Thinning was crucial to reduce fuel loads and prevent catastrophic wildfires. Rogers was paid on a per acre completion basis. The Forest Service inspected finished plots and payment was withheld until a section met strict thinning standards. Rogers paid his men out of these disbursements, meaning any delay directly threatened their income. The overdue deadline, so the deadline was coming up, and because it's a government base contract, they have to be careful of what they're doing, so they've got to be shit-offs basically. The contract was originally supposed to be completed by August 1975, but due to equipment breakdowns, severe weather, understaffing and rugged terrain, the crew was months behind schedule. By November the 5th, 1975, Mike Rogers was facing imminent default. As the Forest Service cancelled the contract, Rogers stood to lose his performance bond. He faced personal bankruptcy and blacklisting from future federal timber contracts. So it's a big deal that he's got to get these, numbers right. The crew members would lose weeks of back pay tied to uninspected acreage. The work was backbreaking manual labour, clearing brush, hauling timber, operating chainsaws from sunrise until dusk. And if you look at these loggers, the chainsaws that these use, these are not like normal chainsaws that you would see. Like, I live in the UK, and we have like the chainsaws that you can get them about, say, I don't know, a 6-inch blade, and you got some, and they cut down our trees outside in the garden. The used one is probably like a 12-inch blade, I suppose, to cut down the chainsaws. Some of these chainsaws that they use for this kind of like thinning and lumberjack work, they am like them. It's about 2 or 3 meters blade. They am absolute huge. That's crazy, and you're just thinking, oh my, that must be like the weight of carrying that and using it with the vibration and stuff. Wow, but they've got it because the trees that them cutting down. I'm not like a tree that you'd see in a park. These trees, these like huge, massive. I mean, thousands and thousands of years old trees that them cutting down, and I'm like, they're just like, they're probably about as wide as an house. That's how wide some of them are. They're just absolute ginormous. That's the reason why they use these like massive. Oh, there was dogs walking. That's why they use these massive like chainsaws. But yeah, so definitely hard graft, very hard graft, and they all wear double denim, which could be comfortable. I work in shorts. I have to because of the weather and because I'm working a very very physical job. So in this weather, you have to wear shorts because it's just too hot for work. Working in jeans, wow, not for me. On Rogers' crew, we had Travis Walton. He was a close friend of Rogers. He often stayed at the Rogers' house. Walton operated a chainsaw clearing brush and small timber. He was known as an athletic, inquisitive young man who took on extra work to make money, and he also had a beautiful moustache. Ken Peterson, John Gillette, Steve Pierce, Alan Dallas and Dwayne Smith were the operational core of the crew. Their job was hard manual labour and sometimes under harsh conditions. And coming from someone who works outside all year round in a very physical job, it's not good for you mentally or physically. And trust me, the past couple of weeks I've had at work always push both of them, the mentally and the physically, I tell you. Yeah, you're in a work, it's what, 5:15, and then you ain't getting on until after 6:30. Not good. No. The crew's job had them using heavy gas powered chainsaws to cut down overcrowded, diseased or small diameter trees, primarily ponderosa pine and scrub oak, cutting branches off fallen trunks and slicing timber into manageable lengths. dragging heavy brush, limbs and slash into organised piles across steep terrain so the Forest Service personnel could perform controlled burns later. The work ran from dawn till dusk, 6 days a week in freezing autumn temperatures at elevations of over 6,000 feet. At approximately 6:15 p.m. on November the 5th, sunset had already passed. The 7 men pulled into Mike Rogers' 1965 Dodge pickup to begin the long drive back to Snowflake, Arizona. As they navigated the winding forestry roads, a bright yellowy orange glow flickered through the trees ahead. Initial thought? A brush fire, or a timber truck on fire. But as Rogers rounded a clearing, the crew saw the true source of the light. Hovering above 20 feet off the ground was a smooth metallic disc, approximately 20 feet in diameter. It emitted a high-pitched electric hum that vibrated through the truck's chassis. Before Rogers could even pull the brake, Travis Walton opened the passenger door and ran towards the object. Why did Walton run toward it, you may ask? According to his later accounts, he was driven by sheer curiosity and feared the craft would take off before he could get a close look. He stopped directly underneath the hovering disc. Suddenly, the craft began emitting a loud, turbine-like sound. Walton turned to hustle back to safety of the truck. That was when a brilliant beam of blue-green energy struck him squarely in the head and chest. From inside the cab, the 6 loggers saw Walton thrown backwards and forwards through the air like he had been hit by a blast from a fire hose, his body arching before slamming face down into the gravel. Panic took over. Convinced Walton had been instantly vaporised or killed, and fearing the craft was targeting them next, Rogers slammed his foot on the accelerator and sped away down the mountain road. Now you can imagine that, because you think about it. You see this bright light, and then you see this. Let me put this picture back on, and I'll show you what I mean. So you think about it. You're looking at this, and Travis Walton. You see this big light. Suddenly a big beam comes out, hits him straight like in the face and on the chest, picks him up, takes him a couple of feet off the ground, starts throwing him backwards and forwards, and then slams him face down onto the ground. What would you do in that situation? Because I know exactly what I would do. I would get the fuck straight out of there. No two ways about it. Foot on the pedal, vroom, I would be gone. Straight away. After driving about a quarter of a mile, guilt and shock set in. Rogers pulled over. The men argued in total terror, but ultimately resolved to return for Travis. When they drove back into the clearing, roughly 15 minutes later, the source was gone. But so was Travis. By 7:45 p.m, a terrified logging crew reached a payphone in Heber and called Navajo County Deputy Sheriff Kenneth Copeland. Sheriff Marlin Gillespie was brought in shortly after. When law enforcement met the loggers, they didn't find a group laughing off a prank. They found 6 hyperventilating, visibly traumatised, airy-arsed loggers, and some on the verge of tears. Following the report on November the 5th, Navajo County Sheriff Marlin Gillespie and Deputy Kenneth Copeland coordinated extensive search parties of law enforcement officers, Forest Service personnel and local volunteers. Searchers scoured the Turkey Springs site using track dogs and helicopters in freezing nighttime temperatures, searching for any trace of Travis, including personal belongings, bloodstains or even a grave. Because there was no evidence of a crash or of UFO debris was found, law enforcement treated the case primarily as a potential homicide, suspecting the crew had murdered Travis after a dispute and invented an alien story as a cover. This was hard to believe, as Walton and Rogers were close friends. Plus, Travis was dating Mike's sister Dana Rogers, from whom Travis eventually married, making Mike his brother-in-law. So you can look at it from both sides of the picture here, because if you look at it from the police perspective, you've got these big airy arse alpha blokes coming in, saying, them crying, saying, "My mate's been took off by an alien. Oh my God, got took off. There was lights. It hit him, picked him up, throw him around. Holy shit!" And then they go over, drive around, and I'm like, nothing. There's no blood. There's no Travis. There's no burns on the ground. There's nothing. This is interesting. But on the same side, if you've killed him, would you go running into the police station and go make up a story? Because now you just, you're pointing the finger at yourself. So I can see the police's thing where they don't know what to do about it, and I can also see the truckers because they want to clear the name and say, look, he's missing, but it's nothing to do with us. You know, it was an alien. It was ET. He come down. He wanted to go back home. You know, I don't know. We'll see. On Saturday, November the 8th, 1975, 3 days after Travis Walton went missing, Sylvanus arrived at the scene to investigate. Sylvanus conducted a 65-minute audio recorded interview with the crew, Mike Rogers, and Travis's mother and older brother, Dwayne Walton. During the recorded conversation, neither Travis's mother nor Dwayne expressed fear or panic regarding Travis's safety or well-being. Instead, Dwayne repeatedly expressed confidence that Travis would be returned safely and even stated, "Well, that's the way these things happen round here," and that Travis he's experiencing the life of a lifetime. In the interview, Mike Rogers openly discussed the financial strain of their US Forest Service thinning contract, explicitly stating to Sylvanus, "This contract we have is seriously behind schedule." Sylvanus' tape recording became crucial evidence for skeptics, most notably UFO debunker Philip J. Klass. I wonder if there's any relation to Moylan. You know what I'm saying? The recording gave them all a motive. It provided direct evidence that the crew was stressed about missing the government logging contract deadline, supporting the theory that an abduction or an act of God was concocted to avoid financial penalties. Skeptics argued that Dwayne and his mother's calm, confident statements about Travis being safe on a spaceship rather than dead or injured in the freezing woods pointed to a pre-planned hoax rather than a genuine horror over a missing friend. By November the 9th, with no clues found and freezing conditions continuing, Travis's mother requested that law enforcement halt the physical search. News of the UFO abduction spread rapidly, drawing press, UFO researchers, and representatives from the groups like APRO, never die, got a clue what that stands for, and reporters from around the world to Snowflake and Heber, Arizona. The state polygraph examiner, Cy Gilson, administered lie detector tests to the 6 loggers. So at the Navajo County Courthouse in Holbrook, Arizona, the 6 logger crew members, Mike Rogers, Ken Peterson, John Gillette, Steve Pierce, Alan Dallas and Dwayne Smith were asked a series of questions. You see, Sheriff Marlin Gillespie's main concern wasn't proving UFOs were real. It was ruling out murder, assault or a cover-up. Gilson asked each man 3 primary control target questions. Did you cause severe bodily harm to Travis Walton? Do you know if Travis Walton is buried in the forest? Did you actually see a UFO, an unidentified flying object? Mike Rogers, Alan Dallas, Ken Peterson, John Gillette and Steve Pierce passed completely. Gilson determined their chart showed no deception regarding seeing the craft or hurting Travis. Dwayne Smith's results were ruled inconclusive. Gilson noted that Smith was in an extremely nervous, agitated state, making his psychological readings unreadable, but noted it was not a fail. Cy Gilson officially reported, "These polygraph examinations indicate that these 5 young men did observe some object that they believed to be a UFO, and that they did not cause bodily harm to a Mr. Travis Walton." Just after midnight on November the 10th, 1975, nearly 5 days after his disappearance, Grant Walton, Travis's brother-in-law, received a hysterical phone call from a payphone at an Exxon station in Heber, Arizona. It was Travis. Thinking it was a prank call, he went to hang up, but then he listened closer and realised he knew the voice. It definitely, 100%, was Travis. He rang his brother Dwayne and collected him on the way to picking up Travis. Once they arrived to see Travis, he was found slumped in the phone booth, shivering, dishevelled and wearing the same double denim clothing he was wearing of the abduction, except he was missing his hat. Instead of taking Travis home, the snowflake or driving into a local hospital where law enforcement and reporters were waiting, Dwayne and Grant drove him directly to Phoenix, nearly 2 hours away. Dwayne made the decision to keep Travis hidden from both the press and local law enforcement, such as Sheriff Marlin Gillespie, believing Travis was in an extremely fragile, traumatised state and would be overwhelmed by the intense media circus surrounding the case. According to his family and the researchers who saw him in the hours after his return, Travis was in a near catatonic state, confused about time and convinced he had only been unconscious for 2 or 3 hours. He was visibly weak, dehydrated, and had lost a notable amount of weight over the 5-day ordeal. I'll take some of that. If you're going to lose that much weight, as long as you don't anal probe me, you can come and abduct me. He complained of severe pain in his chest and head. Upon physical examination, a small red mark resembling a puncture site or puncture mark was noted near the crook of his elbow. Once in Phoenix, Dwayne contacted the Aerial Phenomena Research Organisation, a prominent UFO research group based in Tucson. APRO stepped in to take control of Travis's medical and psychological evaluation, sending their own physicians and investigators to evaluate him in secret. APRO's team wanted to document his condition immediately, while shielding him from local Arizona authorities, whom Dwayne suspected of treating the case purely as a criminal matter. On November the 11th and 12th, Travis was examined by 2 physicians, Dr. Joseph Schultz and Dr. Howard Kandel. This was all done and arranged through APRO. Their official physical examinations confirmed that while Travis had a lower than normal blood sugar level, was somewhat dehydrated and exhibited physical signs of severe psychological stress and trauma, he had no major broken bones or life-threatening injuries or metal bits shoved up his arse. Traces of blood and urine samples were collected to test for radiation or chemicals. The results came back negative for abnormal radiation exposure. Navajo County Sheriff Marlin Gillespie was infuriated that Travis's family had spirited him away to Phoenix without notifying the police. As the disappearance was still officially an open investigation, after pressure from law enforcement and arrangements made through APRO, Travis finally sat down with Sheriff Gillespie and investigators a few days later to give his formal statement, paving the way for the media frenzy and polygraph testing that followed. This is what Travis Walton told the sheriff, what he remembers about the day he got abducted. When me and my 6 other logging crew members were driving home from Turkey Springs after sunset, we spotted a bright, yellowish orange glowing object hovering above the trees in the clearing. I told Rogers to stop the truck. Once the truck stopped, I stepped out and ran toward the craft. I needed to do it. I was curious, and I had a fear that this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. If I don't see it now, I never will, and I needed to see it up close. When I approached the disc, I was standing beneath it, or near the smooth, dish-shaped craft, when suddenly an accelerating noise came, like a very vibrating hum. I turned round and looked at the truck. Before I could run, boom! I got hit by something. It was a blue energy beam. It hit me straight in the chest, straight in the head. I remember being thrown backwards through the air. As I was in the air, everything started feeling strange. Everything started feeling funny. Then, boom! I was face down on the ground. That's all I remember from the actual moment. When I regained consciousness, I found myself lying on an inclined bed inside a dimly lit, humid room with heavy, damp air. I experienced severe chest and head pain and initially assumed I had been taken to a hospital following an injury, seeing as when I looked down, I was lying on a metal bed that resembled a gurney. I looked around and then I realised I was surrounded by 3 non-human creatures. They were standing about 5 feet tall, maybe a little bit smaller. There was bald, hairless heads, smooth marshmallow-like skin, thin lips, no eyelashes, and exceptionally large, dark, almond-shaped eyes. I'll always remember those eyes. and they wore simple orange jumpsuits. I started to panic. I got up. I shouted. I swore. I pushed away from them. I picked up a clear glass cylindrical object from a nearby shelf and waved at them as a makeshift weapon, saying, "Fuck off and stay away from me!" The three small beings did not attack me. Instead, they backed out the room through a doorway. So I ran into a hallway. I entered a circular room featuring a high dome ceiling displaying a realistic projection of stars and constellations. In the centre sat a high-backed chair with controls built into its armrests. When I touched one of the controls, the celestial projections shifted, causing him to leave the controls alone. Suddenly, a tall, muscular figure wearing a dark blue suit and a clear helmet entered the room. I attempted to ask questions. The figure completely ignored me and refused to speak. So suddenly, I was taken by him. He looked at me, grabbed my arm, and he led me down a corridor into a much larger space. I was then brought into an expansive bay that housed several other craft. I was greeted by three more human-looking entities, two men and a woman. They ignored my questions and just guided me onto an examination-style table and placed a soft plastic mask over my face. I lost consciousness more or less straight after. That was what he told the police officers. In the detailed personal accounts, Walton noted that he'd retained no consciousness, memory or explicit surgical or invasive biological experiments performed on him. So of course everyone's turning around saying, "Was you anal probed? It's okay if you was. Some people like it. Some people love it. Some people don't like it. I'm one of them that don't like it. But if you do, that's completely up to you. You know, horses for courses, as they say." In the years and decades that followed the experience, Walton changed his interpretation of the event. Right after the event, Walton viewed the entities as hostile, terrifying abductors who kidnapped him against his will. But in later years, Walton concluded that his abduction was not an intentional kidnapping, but an emergency rescue. He believes he got too close to the craft's power source and was accidentally hit by a lethal electrical discharge beam. According to Walton, the crew on board brought him onto the ship to administer emergency medical treatment and restore his life after the accidental discharge nearly killed him. He maintains that once he was stabilised, he was returned to Heber, Arizona. What he turned around and says on this actually is pretty interesting, because he says, basically, he saw the craft saw him. They said, "Shit, we've been spotted. We need to get out of here." So they went to go away, but as he went by him, it's activated like the beam that hit him, like a kind of like a protection beam sort of thing. And that's the reason why it hit him. But of course, because it hit him in the face and the chest, and it threw him around like a wrestler does, slammed him on the floor, they thought, "Shit, we've killed him." And I did listen to a podcast about this, and one of them actually turned around and said, when they did the tests on him, it is in this bit of a research, this is like what I heard on a podcast, they asked him if he'd ever had an heart attack, and he said no. And they said, "Well, we've actually found scars on your heart that resemble you having a heart attack." And he thinks what happened, when the beam hit him, it gave him a heart attack. Well, if it's an electrical beam, imagine putting your finger in a plug socket being electrocuted, it's going to fucking electrocute you, eh? So he thinks that's what happened. He thinks he had an heart attack due to them hitting him with the beam. And because they know what they did, they then turned around and said, "Shit, we need to fix this." So they took him on board and basically brought him back to life and saved him. So he's looking at it from all different angles, and now he's started doing a bit more research, looked into it. He's thinking, actually, this ain't as bad as they was the good guys. They're not, nanu or that sort of shit. They're actually the good guys. Now, as gripping as this narrative is, the Walton incident left a lot of scepticism. Let's break down the primary sceptical arguments that arose over the years. Prominent UFO investigator turned harsh skeptic Philip J. Klass noted that Mike Rogers' US Forest Service contract was severely behind schedule. Rogers was facing financial penalties for missing his August deadline. An act of God or an unprecedented emergency like a worker disappearing under supernatural circumstances could theoretically void or extend the contract without financial ribbing. So he's saying, look, they're in a bit of shit and there's a way out of it. There's a couple of loopholes. They've read the small print and they've found some loopholes. This is one of them. So that's what he says, Mylene Class's dad. Just 16 days before the Walton vanished on October the 20th, 1975, BBC aired the UFO incident, a high-profile television movie about the Betty and Barney Hill abduction starring James Earl Jones. Skeptics argue the movie planted the imagery and narrative beats directly into the minds of young men living in a rural area. If people are not sure about this Betty and Barney Hill abduction, Betty and Barney Hill was the very first ever recorded alien abduction. There was a mixed race, an interracial couple that was driving home from, I think it was from work or at a convention, and they got abducted. If I remember, I think there's 3 hours. I think it's 3 hours. It's been a long time since I've researched this. I think it's 3 hours that they find missing, and they can't explain it. They remember driving down the road, then they have like this blank time thing where they can't remember. Like, I'm not sure where he was. Something's gone wrong, and also the time, because they looked at the watch just before it happened, and they're like, "We've lost 3 hours. Where's that gone?" But that is the first ever recorded and registered alien abduction, the Betty and Barney Hill case. If anyone wants to look it up, look it up. I might cover it one of the days actually, because it is interesting. It's not a long one. It's like a short one, so I might do like a short episode on it or join it in with something else. But it is an interesting story. Very interesting. While the crew passed their initial police polygraphs, Travis Walton's own relationship with polygraph tests was far more complicated. Early on, a secret test arranged by a tabloid, the National Enquirer of all papers, was reportedly failed or deemed invalid by examiner John McCarthy. Critics accused media outlets and UFO groups like APRO of burying negative results to pursue a lucrative story. However, Walton went on to take and pass multiple subsequent polygraphs in later decades, including one administered again by Cy Gilson in 1993. In 1978, Walton wrote his first book titled The Walton Experience. This was Travis Walton's initial non-fiction release. The main focus of the book details the event on November the 5th at Turkey Springs, his recollection of the time aboard the craft, his re-emergence, the payphone and the intense aftermath. Much of the book addresses the aggressive scepticism from investigators like Philip J. Klass, explaining the controversy surrounding early polygraph tests and addressing the media friends that enveloped his family and crew. In 1993, Paramount Pictures adapted Walton's book, The Walton Experience, into a Hollywood film entitled Fire in the Sky. It starred D.B. Sweeney and Robert Patrick. Travis Walton expressed deep dissatisfaction with the 1993 film, primarily because the movie's climax severely misrepresented his actual reported account. I have got a couple of pictures from this. Let's see if I can get this to click. So this is a couple of pictures from the actual Fire in the Sky film. There you got Robert Patrick, the T-1000. That is Elliot from E.T. He's down there. And on the top one you can see there's D.B. Sweeney in the middle. That's him being hit by the lasers. Then you've got this picture here where he's got like this skin thing over him. He's got some like a gauze holding his mouth open and something going inside him. And he's also got like a big like monocle over his eye and it's holding his eyeballs open. But the picture I remember, because I've seen this film, and is this bit here, and he's lying down on a gurney, and it looks like, imagine if you took like a layer of skin off you, and it covers his entire body, and suddenly they must press like a button or something, and it just literally just goes, it just literally just sinks to his body and just like pulls him right the way down, and just like completely like shrink wraps him in it. and he's screaming in that picture like, it's an horrible claustrophobic scene. Oh my God, it's. In his book, Walton described encountering short, broad-eyed grey beings followed by tall, human-looking figures who guided him through clean, brightly lit, metallic corridors. But the movie replaced them with slimy, biomechanical alien monsters. Walton claimed he lashed out in fear, frightened the initial entities away, and was later put to sleep peacefully with an oxygen-style mask. He was never stripped naked, covered in gooey membranes, or subjected to invasive, anal probing, horrifying surgical torture like the film depicted. Walton worried that Hollywood's grotesque visual embellishments would make his story look even more unbelievable to the public, undermining decades of work he spent defending his integrity against the skeptics. The decision to rewrite Walton's account came directly from studio executives over the objections of screenwriter Tracy Torme. Torme stated that studio heads found Walton's actual memory sitting in a planetarium-style room and trying on a control chair far too mundane and boring. It lacked narrative stakes for a high-budget sci-fi film. They demanded an intense horror sequence that would shock viewers. By 1993, cinema audiences were accustomed to terrifying visual effects like those in Ridley Scott's Alien or James Cameron's Aliens. Industrial Lights and Magic and visual effects artists created the infamous pod scene where Walton is covered in a latex slime and poked in the eye to deliver a visceral horror set piece. That's the one I was telling you about. That it's an horrible scene, that is. If you're claustrophobic, that's something that you really don't want to look at that scene. Director Robert Lieberman aimed the frame to move around the emotional fallout among loggers in the town of Snowflake. To make Walton's return feel dramatically earned, the studio felt his time away needed to be portrayed as a terrifying ordeal rather than a strange medical containment. While Walton appreciated how accurately the film captured the forest setting, the search efforts and the strain on his logging crew, he spent decades reminding audiences that the terrifying alien surgeries seen on the screen was purely Hollywood fiction. 5 decades later, what makes Travis Walton's case unique isn't just the detail of the craft or the small grey entities, it's a corroboration. Unlike standard single witnesses, he claims, you have 6 independent eyewitnesses who stood side by side in 1975. They all took lie detector tests under police supervision, faced intense public ridicule, and to this day have never recanted their core statement. They saw a light take Travis Walton into the woods, and to this day they still take lie detector tests every now and then, and they still pass. Was this an elaborate hoax designed by timber contractors under financial stress, shared psychological hallucination, or did something genuinely unexplainable descend over Turkey Springs on November the 5th, 1975? So, what do you think? Like I said, it's an interesting one, this is, because some people actually turned around and said it might be fungus, them in the woods, and they've had all the mushrooms and everything. Now, they've either had a mushroom experience, the magic mushrooms, they've either tried some of them, or maybe they've been cutting down the trees, fungus has been going off and it's left it like mould and sort of things, like the spores, and they've been breathing them in, and that is what's caused them to all have the same story, because they're all having the same hallucination. Interesting. It's an interesting thought. I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, if you that deep into the woods, is that believable? Definitely, it's definitely believable, because I mean, if you're in the woods, I mean, they tell you when you're in the woods, like, you don't forage in the woods, because that mushroom that you see may not be the mushroom that you think it is, and people have died from it. People have gone over, picked mushrooms, saying, "Oh, this is the mushroom I have on my Sunday dinner. I'll have one of them, no problem." 5 minutes later, bump them dead. It could be one of them. They could be cutting down trees, because them like some of them are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years old. You don't know what's in that tree. The sap might have like some fumes, or there might be something in the maybe the dust. Maybe that might cause like hallucinations or something to happen. It is a very interesting thing. Also, you have got to add that was behind on their quota for the cutting down the trees. So people, I'm going to question that. But the good thing about all this that happens, as I sit back on my garden chair, I haven't got a computer chair yet, so I'm sitting on a garden chair. So Travis Walton still goes round today doing lots of interviews. He's very, very open to interviews. I mean, if I emailed him, he'd probably take an interview off me, to be honest. And I'm a nobody, you know. So he's very, very popular on Joe Rogan. I think he's been about 2 or 3 times he's been on Joe Rogan. And Joe Rogan, the whole back, he throws a lot of questions at him. And Travis Walton's like, no, keep firing them. I'll answer them. I've got nothing to hide. I have never lied. I've got nothing to hide. Oh, whenever you answer me, I'm just going to answer the question. And his story has never ever changed. It's always stayed the same. So you'd think over the years there would be a little bit of discrepancies, and there would be a couple of things that are like added on, like, you know, when people do Chinese whispers and they go like, you know, oh yeah, you know, I had an I had people like, I don't drink, but people would be like, oh yeah, I went out last night and I had 6 points and I had me a kebab. Then they can go and see somebody else and go, oh, the other night I had me 10 points, I had 3 kebabs and I pulled a bed and I took her back to my house. And then afterwards he's like, oh God, mate, the other day I had 27 points, I had 3 bottles of Jack Daniels, I went for a curry, so I pulled these 3 beds, I took them back to my house, and we had a big massive sex party. You know, that's the way it happens over the years. You have like these Chinese whispers where the story changes over time. His has never changed. His has always been the same from what he said on the first interview to what he says now. It's never changed. So you've got to give him credit for that, because that takes some doing. If you're lying, you would get caught out, and he's never been caught out yet. So, you know, do I think personally, my opinion? Do I think, my opinion don't mean nothing, but do I think Travis Walton was abducted by aliens? Yeah, I do. I really do. Do I think aliens exist? Yeah, I do. As we talk about aliens, let me get a drink. Oh, God, got me iron brew. Need me iron brew. Right, so talking about aliens, did a bit of Google webbing. And so I thought, okay, let's have a look at some aliens. These apparently are the 6 most popular alien abductors. So when people talk about, I've been abducted by aliens, these ones are the ones that people say they see the most. So at the top left, you've got the Arcturian. Now this one looks like, if you've ever seen the Justice League cartoon from Batman and Superman, that looks like the Martian Manhunter, but he's blue instead of green. Next one, you've got the feline one, which basically looks like a cat. It looks like a woman. It looks like a woman cat hybrid. It's like a woman's face with cat's eyes, cat's ears, but blonde hair. It literally is a woman mixed with a cat. 50% woman, 50% cat. You got the Andromedan. To be honest, that looks like a lot of people who walk around where I live. It really does. Strange. This is one I've never heard of before. The Telosian. That just looks like a woman. Just looks like a woman with like some strange gown on. You have one called, this is one called the Tall White. This is just a white, you know, this is the grey aliens, but she's pure bright white with pure white long hair and bright green eyes. So instead of being a grey, she's pure white. You got a reptilian. This is basically, if you imagine, say, a Komodo dragon or a Nile monitor or a lizard standing on his 2 legs in human form. That's what this one looks like. You have the blue avian. I've never heard of this one. It looks like a mixture of a human and a bird. It's got like a bird's face sort of thing, with like a bit of like a beak, like a puffing beak. You have the greys, which is like the typical greys that everyone talks about. Some people say them tall, some people say them like 6, 7, 8 feet tall, with long arms and thin. Some say them small, 3-foot people. So this is just, but they're always the same. Thin body, big circular head, completely bald, with big black eyes. And then we have the anarchy. Now this is a very, very popular one because a lot of people, especially flat earthers, mention this one. And they say the anarchy, if I remember right, and the civilization and the people that lived on Earth before humans did. So a lot of people turn around and say Earth was here before, but it wasn't called Earth then. It was called, fuck knows what it was called. It was called, I don't know, before Earth. And it was populated by a different civilization called the Anunnaki. I think it's Anunnaki. 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 And they say they got wiped out. But these were the ones that left, these built the pyramids. These were the ones that have the big massive giant doors in the mountains. These are the ones that they say was like here before us, and these was like the giants. Do I believe any of that? I'm not sure about that. I don't know about that. The other aliens that we could look into, I got this one here. Maybe if anybody thinks about this, what about if you look at this one? What about if you look at, can I zoom in? If I click on this one, oh no, you won't be zooming. What about E.T.? He was an alien. E.T. found home. Maybe they look like him. Does anybody remember E.T.? Surely people remember E.T. How would you explain E.T.? He's about 3 foot. Looks like got like a big chest. Feet him about like say about 2 inches. Got a long neck with a big massive head. It's probably the best way to explain E.T. Or could it be one of these bad boys? Could it be? Holy shit! Xenomorph. If anybody don't know what the xenomorph is the alien from Aliens. Now, if that was an alien and that come and knock you in and went, oi, I'm going away and I'll probe you, you'd be like, fucking hell, give me some lube. Don't go in dry, please. If one of them knocked the window. So you got one of them. You've got one of these bad boys. These are even badder. Then these don't like the xenomorphs. You've got the Predator. The bad boy. That'd be a good alien, that would. Apparently the new film, Predator Badlands, is supposed to be really good. Never watched it. Predator is one of my favourite films. It's just a simple film, really. It really is a very simple film. All the remakes that they've done afterwards was absolute fucking awful. God, they've remade it 3 times, and 3 times they've fucked it up. And then they get it like the lowest budget they could possibly make. They made a film called Prey, and it's brilliant. I've never seen it, but I know that's where Predator Badlands comes from. And the rumour is that they're going to make Predator Badlands 2, and Arnold Schwarzenegger is going to replay his character Dutch in it. So interesting, but that's a badass alien, that is. Or is it one of these little bastards? Because these were nice aliens, these weren't either. Anybody remember these from Mars Attacks? They don't look like much, but they just killed everybody. They was little bastards, they was. So, but then we've got another one. Maybe it's this alien. Has anybody ever seen this one? It's from the film Paul. Basically, it's a grey alien, which is how we describe the grey. But he's giving me the bird and he's smoking a spliff. Okay, fair enough. By the way, has anybody seen Mars Attacks? Does anybody know what the Mars Attacks aliens look like? Just in case. Just in case you haven't seen Mars Attacks, I'll explain what they look like. It's got like a small, about 3-4 foot, it's about 4 foot tall, thin. It's got its head is encased in like a glass dome. It hasn't got imagine if like you had our head with no skin on. That's what their face looks like. So you can see it's got no nose or no features, just like flesh, big massive eyeballs and a big massive brain. Yeah, that's the Mars Attacks people. There's little bastards. There was really them was. And that's it really. That is the Travis Walton abduction. Let me know in the comments what you think. Let me know if you think he was abducted. Let me know if you've been abducted. If you've been abducted by aliens. I haven't. Chasing alien shit round the streets once when I was about 13, 14. Yeah, he's not air balloon. Well, he's 13, 14, you know. Running around knocking doors saying, quick, 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 look, there's a UFO, UFO. Look, the X-Files have come out. You know, everyone was going crazy about the X-Files and stuff, so it was one of them. That is actually one of the reasons why Fire in the Sky did so well and why it was so big. It was because the X-Files had just come out and it was like kick-started like the UFO craze, and everyone was going mad about it because of course X-Files have got the famous poster. It's got the flying spaceship, and they have the poster, don't you? Trust no one. Well, that would come out roughly the same time, and he started like that sort of UFO phrase. I remember in the mid-90s, the UFO thing really kicked back off. I remember that because me and my mate Barney, we was into it, and we used to go up a shopping centre down where we live, and we used to get like my mate used to buy all the DVDs. God, well, VHS videos was at the time because it was cheaper than the DVDs back then, and he used to buy them all the time, and I used to borrow them off him. Because I can't fucking pay for them. You'll buy them, you fucking idiot. And he did. Yeah, it was a big thing back in the day. But do I think he was abducted? Yeah, I do. I think he was abducted. I really do. Strange. Let me know in the comments what you think. Let me know if you think he was abducted. Let me know if he was abducted. Let me know if you've ever been anal probed. Ooh. And now I think it's time for. I know it's not Sunday. It's just work's too busy, so I can't do the Sunday. It was just too busy. So I think it's time for one of these.
Time for me Sunday roast!
Yep, it's time for me Sunday roast. But obviously I'm doing it on a Monday night instead, in my new studio, in my conservatory. And my Sunday roast this week is Lifetime movies. And the reason why I say this was because the other day, me and the lucky Mrs. J, the baby was watching a tablet. It watches these things on the tablet where you can learn how to draw. And she's 6. She's 6 at the end of the week. And she can draw better than me. Her drawings are really, really good. We've put some in some picture frames. That's how good they are. They're really good. And she was learning how to draw the K-pop Demon Hunters and how to draw. She drawed. So popcorn things. She drawed. She drawed a lot of things anyway. And she watches these YouTube videos where it's a guy and he teaches his daughter how to draw them. So she was doing that. And the missus goes, Neil, do you want to put something on? I was like, yeah, go on, we'll watch something. So we ordered a pizza, went to put something on, and we were skipping through the channels. And I got the movie channel, I got Sky, and I got the movie channels on like a deal because I angled like I always do every time I said I'm going to leave Sky. And I've got like Sky Movies free for like 6 months. Anyway, so I was looking through, and of course, as usual, there's nothing on. You've got Sky channels, got Netflix, you've got Amazon Prime, got Paramount, got Disney Channel, got what else was it? Got Hulu, because that comes with the Disney Channel. Got something else comes with the Disney Channel. I can't remember what it was. Anyway, got all these channels, and of course, there's never nothing on. It's jack shit. Going through the Sky Movies, and we got down to like the bottom bit of the Sky Movies. And I think it's something like Lifetime 24 or Movies 24. It's one of these homemade movies channels that's on 24/7. And they've got a 24/7 TV channel now doing Christmas films. Now, hang on a sec here. Let's have a look at my watch. It's July. What the fuck is that about? It's July? Why have you got in July a 24-hour Christmas film channel on? I mean, Jesus Christ. I mean, I know it comes earlier every year. I mean, you got people putting Christmas decorations up now before Halloween. That's how stupid people are, because they're idiots. I mean, Jesus Christ. I mean, I don't understand it. I'm one of these sort of people. The Christmas tree should go up. The missus puts it up on the 1st of December. If it was up to me, it'd go up about 4 or 5, a week before maybe, and it'd come down a week after. If I lived on my own, I wouldn't have a tree up anyway. But obviously for the baby and everything and all that. The kids have grown up now. Obviously, Brian and Belle and Jordan have grown up, but obviously Lottie's a baby, so we've got to put the tree up for Lottie because of the tree, and so Santa could come. So, but people like them taking it. Christmas gets more. I mean, I'm not being funny. I went in. Where did we go today? The range, because we're having some work done in the house. So we went to the range, and they've got all the Halloween stuff up, which is fine. I get that. Halloween's like the next thing, I suppose, you celebrate. I seen an orb then. Was that an orb or dust? Well, I wore an orb. Okay, hell. But yeah, anyway. So we've got the Halloween things up, and I thought, yeah, okay. I did look properly because we was looking around for getting some paint. Yeah, fucking hell, that was expensive as well. That was, Jesus Christ. We went to buy this one paint. It was £37 for a tin. And I asked the decorator, I said, how many tins I want it need? And he goes, oh, you need probably about 4. £87. 4 tins. I don't think so. So we changed that plan anyway. And we got some paint, but I had to take a mortgage out to get some paint. Anyway, so I reckon if I'd have walked around, or if we would have walked around range on that day and checked all the oils, I reckon we would have found a Christmas section. Now, if I haven't got enough paint, I've got to go back down the range and get some more this week because he's coming Wednesday and Thursday to some painting. And if he does, then I will look. And if I find a Christmas section, I think I'm just going to cry because it's July. Why is everything got to be done so early? There's no need for it. It's just stupid. Dickheads putting the Christmas trees up before Halloween. Yeah, you're a dickhead for doing it. There's no need. Stupid. And now you've got a 24-hour Christmas movie channel on in July. Now, I only found this by accident. So this could have been on before July. This could have been on like in June or May, April even. Maybe it never even went off. I don't know. Because like I said, I don't go down that far on the channels. I found it completely by accident. Oh, it was a bad day. That was a bad day, that was. That put me on a downer. I'll tell you something, it's a good job they put on like, Crowded Day we saw the Lighthouse Family or something, because that would have been like, the right balls up. Let me have another drink. God, it's hot in here. I'm going to put the fan in here. Whoa. Woo. Anyway, that's my Sunday roast gone anyway. So, but what have we done today? What have we watched this week? We watched, this is Saturday, we put on I Will Find You. It's the new Harlan Coben book adaptation that they've got on Netflix at the moment. 8 episodes. It's normally, when they do these adaptations from the Harlan Coben books, they're normally British based, they're normally based in England, and it's normally have like the British actors. Richard Armitage, he's normally in them all. James Nesbitt, he's been in a couple. There is some on Netflix that are foreign. I haven't watched any of those because I can't do the subtitles. So I don't know if they're any good or not. But anyway, I think James Nesbitt's been in 3. I think Richard Armitage has been in nearly all of them, I think, in one capacity or another. Anyway, we put it on, and of course straight away we noticed it was American. It stars Sam Worthington. Sam Worthington was the guy who was in Avatar. He was in Terminator Salvation. He's been in loads of films. Sam Worthington has Clash of the Titans. He played. He was in Clash of the Titans and Wrath of the Titans. He was in that. And he's an Australian actor, but he's an American. So he was in it. Madeline Stowe, the actress, she was in Revenge with Kevin Costner, if I remember right. Oh, was it Kevin Costner? Yeah, I think it was. She's an actress from like the 90s films, and she's in it. There's a couple of other people in it. There's someone in from Heroes. There's a guy, Pete. I think he plays Peter Patetti in Heroes. I think he's an Italian guy. He's in it, and I don't recognise anybody else. You've probably seen him from like TV shows and stuff. But anyway, it's about a guy. He comes on and he shows you a guy being walked through jail, and you find out he's been charged with murdering his son 5 years previously. He battered him to death with a baseball bat. He doesn't show it yet. It just shows you like flashbacks, and it's like a crime scene. It just shows like a kid's bedroom, and there's like stickers everywhere, sort of thing. And he shows him in his cell, looking at his kid's photo and stuff. And then he goes back to him in like a courtroom, and he's like protesting his innocence, saying he didn't do it, he didn't do it. Anyway, it comes up 5 years later, and it shows you his sister-in-law comes up and puts a picture on, and his kid was 3 when he got killed, and he's got a big birthmark on his cheek. It's like a big long birthmark on his cheek. It's obvious, it's completely obvious, you can see it. And she shows him the picture. She doesn't have visitors or nothing, but she adamant she needed to see him. And he goes, look, your son's alive. And he's like, I never killed my son, I never did he. They're like, no, look, he's alive, I believe you. Then it starts to go a little bit tits up. Yeah, I'm not going to do any spoilers or anything, but for what I can explain this, when I was watching it with Luce, I said, Luce, this reminds me a lot of Prison Break. And the reason why I say it reminds me a lot of Prison Break is, if you've ever watched Prison Break season 1, Wentworth Miller, he plays a guy, I don't know his name, he's called him. Barry goes in to rescue his brother Colin, and he covers his entire body in tattoos. And these tattoos have something to do with breaking his brother out of jail. But for all this to happen, you have to have every single line fall into piece at the exact right time, at the exact location. It's impossible for it to happen, but it does. And this TV show, 8 episodes, kind of reminded me of that, because there's a lot of things that happen, and you're like, it just wouldn't happen. Now, I know it's TV, and I know it's in the script, or the book, but all the other Arlen Coben books are not like it. You know, you watch it, and straight away, you're mucked. I mean, Runaway. If you're looking for a TV show to watch the Arlen Coben book on Netflix show called Runaway, with James Nisbet. Excuse me. That is brilliant. That is absolutely brilliant. That's up there with Line of Duty for me, and Save Me. No, Save Me, Line of Duty, Runaway, 3 of the best TV shows you would ever watch. It was absolutely brilliant. The Stranger, another one, absolutely brilliant. You had the one with, what was it called, where they was using the online dating sites, and there was nicking people's profiles, and there was kidnapping people. I forgot what it's called. That was another good one. And the one with Michelle Keegan. I watched one. I can't remember what they're called. The Stranger. That was really good. Straight away you put them on, you're like, wow, I like this. But this one, and I really do think, and this is no offence to American people, if any American people listen to this, I hope you do, but I think I only get like 2 people listening to my podcast, and I'm one of them. I think it's because they Americanised it. I really do. Because it was a watchable show. Like I said, I gave it 6.5 out of 10. And I said, like, it's one of these things, you watch it, okay, you're not going to watch it again. It's one of them. Is it enjoyable? The first 4 episodes was good. Then it lost its way for the next 3, and then it come back in the last episode. Yeah, at one point I was going, oh, this is stupid, this is getting silly. Yeah, we watched that. What else did we watch? That's all I've watched. I watched anything else. I've done my research. I was researching this. To be honest, I've been falling asleep on the sofa again. I went to bed a few times this week. Yeah, but it's not really watched much else. Yeah, I've got some. Luce has watched some stuff she's recorded. She's watched The Staircase. She's very into that at the minute. The Staircase with Colin Firth, the true story about the guy whose wife fell down the stairs. She said to me, you should do a podcast on that. And I probably will, to be honest, because that is a very interesting story, The Staircase. I've listened to a few podcasts about it. Never seen it, but I know the story of roughly. Very interesting story, that is. Very, very red-handed. Covered that story and did a really good episode on that. Really did. But yeah, if you do want to look at any information about the Travis Walton, by the way, there's Discovery Channel. They did a documentary on this. I think it's called Travis Walton, the Abduction. There's loads and loads of interviews. If you go on YouTube, there's loads. Like I said, he makes himself available for interviews. Travis Walton does. Fair play to him. If he was lying, he wouldn't be doing that, would he? Like I said, Joe Rogan's interviewed him. I think 3 times Joe Rogan's interviewed him. So there's a lot of information and a lot of documentaries out there about him. And if you need to go and watch it, go and watch them because it's interesting. And see what you think. Listen to him talk about it. Listen to him tell his side of the story, and then you can make your own opinion whether you think he's telling the truth or not. Personally, like I said, I think he was abducted. I don't think anything was short up his arse, but I think he was abducted. Interesting. So, but that's it for this week anyway. Next week, well, I don't know what I'm doing next week. I really don't. I've not looked into it that far. We've got some work going on in the house this week. So yeah, I don't know what I'm going to be doing. What I'm going to do. I think the missus and the baby are staying down at mum's. So I've got the house. Well, obviously Brian will be here and Ben will still be here, but they live in the bedrooms and teenagers. So I have got the house to myself, and I am thinking about running and doing a Batman episode. Oh, we all know. There we go. There's my Batman tattoo. As you can see, why do we fall? So we can learn to pick ourselves up. And the picture of the Batman. And there's my new tattoo. Let my arms be the place you feel safe in. A picture of a grown-up's hand holding a child's hand. Dedicated to my daughter. So yeah, that's the. I don't know what to do. I might do a Batman episode. I think I might have to do a few more true crime episodes. I think I might have to go into them. So I've got you got the Yorkshire Ripper. You got the Lacey Peterson. You've got Ray Riviera. He's still in the pipeline. I've got a podcast listening to about that. So I'm not sure what I'm going to be doing next week. There'll be something. I'll do something, but I'm not sure what it is. Like I said, if anybody out there wants to do a collaboration, please let me know, and I'd love to do a collaboration with someone. If any of the people who will listen to this who are follow on Instagram, if there's a lot of paranormal groups on there, a lot of paranormal investigators, there's a lot of paranormal in people who do interviews with people who do paranormal stuff. There's a lot of podcasts who do the paranormal and ghosts and that sort of thing and true crime stuff. There's also a lot of people that do like urban exploring and things like that. If any of you lot want to come onto this podcast and chat about your experiences and tell me about the things that's happened while you've been doing your ghost hunts or any of the strange things that you've heard around, and just come on and just have a chat, please feel free to DM me and we can sort something out, because I really would be interested in doing that. Quite a few people I've seen on the Black Country Paranormal group. A lot of the places they go, I know obviously because from the Black Country, obviously I know where they'll go somewhere. I know that place. Oh yeah, I'm going to send them this podcast and asking for them to come on, because I think that would be a good laugh. That would be a good laugh and a big interesting as well. See what they could come up with. Because they start talking about Dudley Castle and the Station Hotel and places like that. Hayden House. Where else have they been? Everton Tunnel, Black Country Museum. I've been to these places. I know where they are. I understand where they're coming from. So yeah, I really would be interested in doing that. So let me know, and I'll come on and we can sort something out. And definitely would love to have a chat with you and have a good laugh at the same time. But as for the show, I think that's it for today. And welcome to my new studio. I'm going to jazz it up a little bit. I'm going to put some pictures on I'll ask the missus if I can, because it's a conservatory and there's the gaffer, not me. That's all it is for this week. Thanks for listening. Let me know in the comments what you think about if you've been abducted or not. Leave me some feedback. Like, subscribe, hit that 5 stars. Get me up that algorithm. I know not many people listen to this podcast. I really do know that. And that's just the way it is. That's just, I'm a nobody in this. I do this because I enjoy it. But even if only I listen to it, I do it because I enjoy it. But if you do like it, please leave me some feedback. Let me know that you're listening, and hit the 5 stars, like and subscribe, and pass it on to your friends and see where they go from there. And yeah, so as of now, until next time, I'll see you later. Bye.